In today's video, I'm going to grade every team's 2021 Major League Baseball draft. We're going to look at the top rounds because you can't really do a ton of talking about 20th round picks here. So yeah, I'm going to give grades for every MLB team's 2021 Major League Baseball draft, and that's what I'm going to do in today's video. But before I get into this video, 92% of you that watch these videos are not subscribed. So go ahead, get your life together. Hit that subscribe button, turn notifications, and leave a like on this video. Subscribe, turn notifications, and leave a like. And let's go ahead and get into this video. We're going to start off with the Baltimore Orioles draft with their first round pick with the fifth overall pick. They went with Colton Cowser out of Sam Houston State. The potential's there. I don't love this pick at all. I think that it's a reach here, getting him at number 5. But I could see why the potential's there. Sam Houston State's not a very big college. There's a lot of risk with this pick. I don't think that he's going to be as good as necessarily that they thought he is going to be with the 5th overall pick. But the Orioles' future is looking pretty promising with Adley Rutschman, Grayson Rodriguez, D.L. Hall, Heston Kyrgyzstan, Jordan Westberg, now Colton Cowser. In the second round, I actually liked their pick with Connor Norby. I thought that was a pretty good value pick, getting him out of East Carolina. He had a very good season at East Carolina. I thought that was a pretty good pick. Reed Trimmel is an interesting pick here from Southern Mississippi, an outfielder. I thought that was a decent pick there. My overall grade for them, I'm going to give them I think I'm going to give them a B-. I think that it was a pretty good draft. I didn't love the first round pick, but I could see I could see where it could turn into a very good pick. I'll give it a B-. Moving on to the next draft, the Boston Red Sox. The Red Sox, I love their draft. In the first round, they got Marcelo Meyer out of Eastlake High School in California. That was a phenomenal pick for a guy that was going to be the first overall pick in a lot of people's eyes. He's the best player in the draft, in my opinion. And that's a very, very good pick, getting him with a 4th overall pick. Very good value there. Even though he doesn't have a position for the future, who knows? They'll make a spot for a talented player like Marcelo Meyer, whether he moves over to second base. It doesn't matter. They'll make a spot for a guy like Marcelo Meyer. In the second round, you got Judd Feynman out of Florida. This guy struggled a little bit at Florida, but also had a pretty good season. So I like that pick as well. Judd Feynman in the second round is an absolute steal. Tyler McDonough out of NC State, I thought was a pretty good pick as well. This guy's very versatile, can play just about anywhere in the field. And the school he went to for high school in Moeller High School in Cincinnati has produced a couple other very, very good players, a.k.a. Ken Griffey Jr., a.k.a. Barry Larkin. So going off that, he could be a pretty good pick. The Yankees draft. I put them as one of my losers in my winners and losers video. I did not like the draft. I thought that Trey Sweeney in the first round out of Eastern Illinois, a shortstop, just was a heavy reach here. I thought that this guy was going to go late second round, and instead he goes in the first round. He had a good season at Eastern Illinois, but also Eastern Illinois is a smaller school. Kind of the same concerns with Colton Cowser. Brendan Beck out of Stanford in the second round is a reach. Just a lot of these draft picks were reaches. You could say that Richard Fitz out of Auburn was a pitcher in the 6th round, was a pretty good value pick. But besides that, there weren't it just was not a great draft at all for the Yankees. I will be giving them a D, and the Red Sox get an A. For the Rays, I'm going to give this a C. You have the pick towards the very late first round, and very late rounds in everyone with the 28th pick. So Carson Williams was a pretty big reach in the first round. But here's the thing: with the way that the Rays develop pitchers and even just players in general, you could see a lot of these players potentially turning into a pretty good player. And that's why you don't doubt the Rays draft. They get a C in my book. For the Toronto Blue Jays here, they get a B- for me. Gunnar Hoglund in the first round definitely has some risk to him, with him going to have Tommy John surgery. So he probably won't be there until 2023, which he's already going to be like, 23 years old at that point, just starting in the minor leagues. So there's definitely a lot of risk with that pick. I could definitely see that pick, unfortunately, being a bust. But Gunnar Hoglund, I mean, he has the talent to go in the top 10, maybe even top 5 in this draft. But instead, because of the Tommy John surgery, he fell all the way to the 19th pick. Irv Carter out of Calvary Christian Academy in Florida. He was in that rotation with Andrew Painter. Irv Carter, I think that's a good pick in the 5th round. I didn't particularly love their 3rd nor 4th round picks, and they didn't have a 2nd round pick in this draft. Let's go ahead and move on to the AL Central, where Cleveland gets a B. I really think that they had their heads in the right space with this draft. I think that it was a very smart draft for what they usually do. They always develop good pitching. Gavin Williams seems like a guy that they can develop into a really, really good pitcher. Gavin Williams is a guy that's 6'6" off the mound who can throw pretty hard and had a very good season in East Carolina. I think that this could be definitely a very, very good pick and a regret for teams that didn't pick him earlier. Tommy Mays out of Florida, a pitcher, I think is a very good pick in the compensation B round. This guy had a little bit of first-round hype that could have went in the first round of this draft, but didn't. They drafted a lot of pitchers here. Their first non-pitcher was in the 4th round with Jake Fox out of Lakeland Christian High School, in Florida, and a shortstop. But they went mostly pitching here. They only had 2 non-pitching picks in this draft, so their head's definitely in the right space with who they drafted. White Sox, for me, get an A-. I think that the White Sox had a really underrated draft, especially for them drafting with the 22nd pick in the 1st round. And them drafting in the late 1st round, every round, they still had a very, very good draft. Their 1st through 3rd round picks were all very, very good. Colson Montgomery in the 1st round, this guy had some hype to go possibly in the top 10 in this draft. And Colson Montgomery, I think he's kind of a Brandon Nimmo, but at third base. Like you can see the Brandon Nimmo is swing. Wes Kath in the 2nd round. This guy was projected to go in the 1st round. They get him. He's a 3rd baseman out of Desert Mountain High School in Arizona. Sean Burke in the 3rd round, I think, was a good pick as well out of Maryland, a pitcher. They definitely really hit on this draft. This was a very, very good draft. Very, very smart draft. And Colson Montgomery in the 1st round, Wes Kath and Sean Burke, I like all those picks. Next, we're going on to the Tigers. The Tigers, I think, had one of the best drafts overall, in my opinion. They got Jackson Jobe with the 3rd overall pick. A lot of people are complaining about that pick, but this guy has a ton of upside. He hasn't been pitching for that long. He was actually a shortstop, I'm pretty sure, before he became a pitcher. And this guy has the nasty slider, over 3,000 RPM. And I mean, this is a very, very good pick. Like, it's not a dumb pick at all. Like, it could be considered as a little bit of a reach, but it's not that much of a reach with all the potential that he still does have. Ty Madden in the compensation A round in the 1st, 2nd round, whichever you want to consider it, is a very, very good pick. He was the 9th overall ranked player on MLB Pipeline, and this guy fell all the way to number 32 overall pick for the Tigers. Their future rotation is nasty with Casey Mize, Drake Skubal, Matt Manning, Jackson Jobe, Ty Madden, Joey Wentz. I mean, it's nasty. They have got a ton of pitching for the future. Isaac Pacheco in the 2nd round I thought was a good pick as well. He could have went in the 1st round at a shortstop at a Friendman's high school in Texas. So I thought that they had definitely a top 5 draft. For the Kansas City Royals, they get a C-. Their 1st round pick was definitely a reach in Frank Mazzacata out of East Catholic High School in Connecticut. He's not one that's going to blow you away with his pitches. He's only throwing like 94-ish. But Frank Mazzacata is a very good pitcher. He threw 4 no-hitters in a row in high school at East Catholic High School, and apparently versus some pretty good competition as well. He has 3 different pitches with a changeup, which he didn't use a ton in his senior season at East Lake High School, but a curveball and a fastball as well. And he has good control for those pitches as well. For the Royals in the 2nd round, they got Ben Kudma out of Blue Valley Southwest High School in Kansas. Um, this was a pretty decent pick here. I mean, MLB Pipeline had him ranked at 46. Um, I thought that was a decent pick there. And Peyton Wilson in the third round, a second baseman out of Alabama, is not a bad pick either. Their farm system is pretty good already, so they didn't need a fantabulous draft, but they get a C minus here. The Twins get a C. The Twins draft, in the first round, they got Chase Petty out of Mainland Regional High School in New Jersey. I thought that was a pretty decent pick. Noah Miller out of Ozakaki High School in Wisconsin in the second round was a reach. Their third round pick, Stephen Hagar out of Michigan, was another reach of a pick. So they had quite a few reaches, but they got Christian McLeod out of Mississippi State, a left-hander in the fifth round, which was a pretty good value pick, along with Noah Carditis, a catcher out of UCLA in the eighth round, which I thought was pretty good value. And they got some pretty good value picks. I thought that this was a pretty good draft. Chase Petty can throw 100-some miles per hour. And is only 18 years old, though, so there is a little bit of risk with this pick, but still a lot of upside with this pick as well. He has the slider and changeup to go along with the fastball, and decent control for those pitches. Next team, we are going to move to the AL West for the Los Angeles Angels. I'm going to give it a C+. I think that they're winners. Drafting all pitchers, they made history drafting all pitchers. Sam Bachman over Kumaracher is not great, but Sam Bachman is going to fly through the minor leagues, throwing 101. But he still does need to probably develop another pitch. That's what a lot of people are saying, that he needs to develop another pitch, and that would help him a lot. He's only got a fastball, changeup, and a slider right now, but he doesn't really use the changeup a ton. But like I said, over Kumaracher is a little crazy, but I think Sam Bachman's going to be pretty good himself. Kai Bush in the second round out of St. Mary's College in California. Like I said, they drafted all pitchers in this draft, which is good, but they haven't had the greatest success of developing pitchers recently, so that doesn't really help, but maybe they can. Mason Albright out of IMG Academy, a pitcher, a lefty, in the 12th round was an absolute steal, but it's also a very interesting pick there. Overall, C+ for the Angels draft. For the Astros, I'm going to give them a D- for their draft. It's not an F, but obviously you didn't get a first nor second round pick. You hit on the third round pick, though, starting off with Tyler Whitaker, an outfielder from Bishop Gorman High School in Nevada. It can play in left, center, right, wherever. And that was a pretty good pick. But overall, like, you didn't get a first or second round pick in this year nor last year's draft, which is going to set you back a lot. That's why it's a D-. You didn't get a first nor second round pick. I thought that they did decent with the picks that they did have. Next is the Oakland Athletics. I'm going to give them a C. They, just like the Rays, can develop talent pretty well. They got Max Muncy, weirdly, in the first round, who they drafted probably like 10 years ago. Another Max Muncy, the better Max Muncy, from the Los Angeles Dodgers now. That was a little bit of a reach in the first round, but you could see why they did it. Zach Galoff in the second round was a bit of a reach as well. In the third round, they got a big reach with Mason Miller out of Gardner-Webb, but this guy could be one of those guys that's really developed well by this Oakland Athletics team, and that could be pretty good, a pretty good pick down the line. For the Seattle Mariners, I'm going to give them a C+. I thought that this draft was pretty decent. Not as good as last year's, where I thought that they had a pretty good draft, drafting Emerson, Hancock, and Moore. But Harry Ford in the first round, I think that Harry Ford has a ton of potential. I thought that this was a pretty solid pick. I didn't think that the fit was great, but also with Harry Ford, he can play a ton of different positions as well, which is good. You got Edwin Arroyo in the second round out of Puerto Rico, a shortstop. And you got Michael Morales in the third round. That was a pretty heavy reach there. But Bryce Miller out of Texas A&M in the 4th round was pretty good value. Now, the final team in the AL West, the Texas Rangers. The Rangers in the 1st round, the 2nd overall pick got Jack Leiter, which was a phenomenal pick. Jack Leiter is going to be one of the quickest to the major leagues from this draft class, if not the quickest. I think he probably will be the quickest. Now, it's no rush to the major leagues for anybody, but still, you want a guy that could be up pretty quick. And for the Rangers rebuild, the timeline is in 2022, where 2023, that's when their prospects are going to be up. Now, they got an absolute steal in the 19th round, getting Will Taylor out of Dutch Fork High School in South Carolina. But if I'm not mistaken, he is committed to Clemson as a quarterback, so that's why he fell this far in the draft. But this guy was a first-round guy that could have went as high as top 10 in a lot of, and went as high as top 10 in a lot of people's draft. So that was a very, very good pick. Aaron Zavala out of Oregon, he can put the ball and play a lot. I thought that was a decent pick there. They get an A- for me. I thought that they had the best draft of the AL West and one of the better drafts overall. Atlanta Braves, B-. I thought that this was a pretty underrated draft here, getting Ryan Cusick in the 1st round out of Wake Forest. I think that he could be up decently quick. In the 1st round, Spencer Shellman out of Nebraska, a pitcher, shortstop. They don't really know. I think that he's a pitcher, but a lot of people just do not know what he's going to be for that future. But Ryan Cusick is a relief pitcher that can throw very, very hard. And was a guy that I thought was going to go way higher than the Braves. But he can throw a fastball very, very hard. Struggled in his first season in 2018 at Wake Forest. And was a top 3 round talent possibly coming out of high school, but instead decided to go to Wake Forest. And he's got a 70 fastball, 50 slider, not great control. That's really the main knock with him. Like, if he had better control, then he could have went a lot higher in this draft, but still, he's got a lot of potential. He just needs to have better control for his pitches, honestly. Next draft that I'm going to go to the Phillies. I'm going to give them an A. I've talked about their draft a lot. I'm not really going to talk about it a lot. You can go see my other videos talking about their draft. Moving on to the Nationals. B+ for them, the Washington Nationals. I thought that their draft was pretty good, especially getting Brady House in the 1st round, who compares a lot to me as Nolan Arenado in the 1st round with their 11th overall pick. I thought that was a good pick. Dalen Lyle out of Trinity High School in Kentucky. I thought that was a decent pick as well. A little bit of a reach, though. Overall, I think that they had a decent draft. I'm going to give them a B. The Marlins, they get an A for their draft. I thought that the Marlins draft was really, really good. Getting Khalil Watson, who was a top 5 pick in most everybody's eyes, at least top 10. Out of Wake Forest High School in North Carolina, get a Kim, a shortstop. Great pick. Joe Mack in a compensation A round, the 31st pick. I thought that was a very good pick. Getting Kim, they need a catcher for the future, and he's probably going to be that guy. Cody Mazzarato was not a huge reach either from Boston College, a shortstop. I thought that was a pretty decent pick. I think that they made a lot of good picks in this draft. The Marlins get an A. For the New York Mets, they had possibly one of the biggest steals of the draft themselves, getting Kumar Rocker out of Vanderbilt with the 10th overall pick in the draft. Very, very good pick here. They reached on a lot of their other picks just because they really have had to pay a lot of money, $6 million signing bonus to Kumar Rocker. But it's probably well-deserved. Calvin Ziegler in the 2nd round is definitely a reach, definitely. Moving on to the NL Central here. The Cardinals get an A-. I thought that the Cardinals had one of the most underrated drafts there is. Michael McGreevy in the 1st round gets a lot of comparisons to Shane Bieber. I thought that was a really good pick. And Joshua Baez in the 2nd round as well, if he can stop swinging at everything, will be a very, very good pick as well for St. Louis. Next, we move on to the Chicago Cubs, who get a B-. Jordan Wicks in the 1st round. No one expected him to fall this far, but Jordan Wicks is a good pick in the 1st round. Getting him is a good pick. And I thought that you got Christian Franklin in the 4th round, which was a good pick as well. I think that B- is definitely fair for Chicago. Best draft, in my opinion, was the Pittsburgh Pirates getting Henry Davis in the 1st round. He is a great player. Is not going to strike out a lot. Has the best arm in this draft and is probably the best hitter in this draft as well. Definitely the best hitter in college last year. Great pick. 2nd round, Anthony Salamato out of New Jersey. That was a very, very good pick as well. He pitches very weirdly, but still he's compared to Mackenzie Gore, Madison Bumgarner. That's gonna lead to some winning probably. In the 3rd round, you got Bubba Chandler. The real concern that he fell to the 3rd round, even though he could have been a 1st rounder, was because he's committed to Clemson for football as a quarterback. So that was the main reason there. But overall, I thought that this was a really, really good draft for the Pirates, and their future is even better now. Next to the Milwaukee Brewers, they get a B+. I thought that the Brewers had an underrated draft. They got Alex Benales out of Louisville in the 3rd round. That was a good pick. Sal Frelick in the 1st round. I thought that was a pretty good pick as well. He kind of compares to me as like a Ketel Marte with Merrifield type player. Tyler Black in the compensation A round, it could be a pretty solid pick as well. I thought that and Rock Riggio, an outfitter from Thousand Oaks High School in California, in the 11th round is an absolute steal. To the final team in the NL Central, I'm going to go with a B+ as well for the Cincinnati Reds. I thought that their draft was very good as well. Matt McClain falling to them at number 17 was a great pick. Along with Jay Allen, I thought that was a pretty good pick. He's got some upside as well. But, I mean, the first 5 picks that they had were very, very good picks and very, very smart picks. This was an overall really, really good draft. I could even bump them up to – I think I'll bump them up to an A- actually, because this draft was that good. It was a really, really good draft from top to bottom. Next, we're going to move on to the NL West. The Dodgers get a C-. Now, the Dodgers – did not have a 1st-round pick due to compensation of the Trevor Bauer signing because the Reds actually gave him the qualifying offer, but he declined it. And actually, they did have the 29th pick, never mind, but they had to give up 1 pick in compensation, which was their 2nd-round pick, excuse me. Maddox Bruins was the big reach. This guy has control problems, but he could be pretty good the way the Dodgers do develop pitching pretty well. Peter Humbuck out of Gilman School in Maryland, decent pick. But overall, like, you can't do a ton with the 29th pick, the dead last pick in the 1st and 2nd round. Like, that's going to be hard to do a lot with. C-. For the Giants, I'm going to give theirs a B. I think that the Giants draft was really, really good. Will Bednar in the 1st round was a good pick. He's going to be up quick to the majors too. Out of Mississippi State. Matt McCullough, I don't know how to pronounce him. He's out of Fordham in New Jersey, or New York, I meant. But yeah, this is a pretty good pick as well. This guy was possibly going in the 1st round, according to some mock drafts. Julian Bosnick out of South Carolina University, pitcher. They got him in the 16th round. I thought that was a pretty good pick. I thought that their draft was very, very good for the Giants. B. For the Padres, I'm going to give it a D+. I mean, for the Padres here, like I said, you can't do a ton in the late. But Jackson Morrell was a big reach. This guy I thought was going to go in the 3rd round, and he went all the way in the 1st round. James Wood, though, they kind of made up for it in the 2nd round with James Wood out of IMG Academy. But yeah, it wasn't a great draft. But like I said, it is hard to do much with it. But they did get some steals towards the end of the draft. In the 18th round, they got Gage Jump, who could go to college out of J. Sierra Catholic High School in California. He was ranked 43 on MLB.com and went with the 550th pick of the draft. They also got Chase Burns in the 20th round out of Beach High School in Tennessee. So they really hit in the later rounds of the draft. That's really where their gems of the draft came. For the Rockies, I'm going to give it a C. I didn't think that it was a particularly good draft. For the Rockies, I thought that Benny Montgomery at 8 was a big reach, in my opinion. Jaden Hill, though, out of LSU was a pretty good pick. A pitcher, he could be up quick to the majors as well. Robbie Martin Jr., an outfielder from Florida State, was a pretty good pick in the 8th round. But I didn't love the pick, especially 8 on Benny Montgomery. I did not love that pick at all. Moving on to the final team, we've got the Arizona Diamondbacks, and they get an A for me. I thought that the Arizona Diamondbacks really did well with this draft. I thought that this was a very, very smart draft. You got in the first round Jordan Lawler, who was a projected top 3 pick in this draft. Not to mention that you got Adrian Del Castillo in the 3rd round, which, yes, there is some risk with him just for the simple reason that that he plays that he's really bad defensively on the catching side, but still is a great hitter offensively. So maybe he's their DH for the future or whatever. But I thought that was a pretty good pick. And their first round pick of Jordan Lawler was good as well. Ryan Bliss was a decent pick in the 2nd round. I didn't think that it was smart considering that you already just drafted a shortstop. But still, I thought that the Diamondbacks had a very, very good draft. And yeah, so that's going to be the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like, subscribe, and turn notifications because, like I said, 92% of you that watch these videos are not subscribed. So go ahead and get your life together. Hit that subscribe button, turn notifications, and leave a like. Thank you for watching, and peace.